Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I bring with me apologies from your usual chairman, Jenny Else, who has discovered that her husband is the agent for the one and only application on Easton, and it seemed rather a waste of her time to come all the way in here, then say that she couldn't stay in the council chamber. So she'll be joining Central at 7:15. Meanwhile, you have the second string, me. Moving on to the usual thing, as there are no members of the public in there, I don't really need to go through all of that, but members, if you could at least make sure that your cards are plugged in. We are being webcast, and there are no plans for any fire alarms, so you know the usual drill as well. On to the agenda then. Item 1, the minutes. The minutes of our meeting held on the 13th of January. They've been on the table over there for the last half hour or so. Is it your wish that I sign them later as a correct record? Thank you very much. Gary, apologies for absence, please.
Yes, Chairman. Apologies received from Councillor Jenny Else, as you say, and also Councillors Stuart Stennett and Jeanette Stennett.
Thank you very much. Declarations of interest, members. Go.
Yeah, but none received prior to the meeting, Chairman.
Nothing late coming? Okay, we will move on then. Questions by members of the public?
None received, Chairman.
Item 5, any relevant updates to government guidance or legislation since the last meeting? Elizabeth.
Thank you, Chairman. There are none this evening. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Item 6 and the quarterly planning enforcement report. Vicky.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillors, may I just report for a verbal update on one of the site specifics on the eastern area. Page 7, land to northeast of Horsham Road. The update on that is to confirm that legal services have now spoken to the owner, and that he has been given till the end of February to remove the structures on the land. And just to say, at the last update, there was a concern with regards to the reference to having land to northeast of Norley Farm within the title. This is, it appears again on this agenda, but this is a transition title, and will not be showing on any following updates. And if I could just take you to the bottom of page 9 for the summary of caseload. October, December, we report a reduction to 184 cases. And over the page, on page 10, the performance against the local performance indicator, which is 70% of cases actioned within 12 weeks. Within the October to December, we report 85%. And thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions, comments? No? Can we then just note the performance and planning enforcement? Thank you very much. Item 7, the quarterly appeals report. Catherine.
Thank you, Chairman. There are just 2 appeals to report for the last quarter. The first appeal is summarised on pages 13 and 14 of your agenda. This was a delegated officer refusal and the appeal was dismissed. Excuse me. The proposal related to a replacement dwelling in the developed area of Cranley. The main issues were the effect on the character and appearance of the area and residential amenity. The inspector, in reaching his decision, was satisfied on the second reason for refusal, that by reason of separation distances, provision of boundary treatments, and the height of the building on its southeastern side, the proposal would not unacceptably harm residential amenity. However, he did consider that the proposal, by reason of its design, its prominence, and its materials, would be at variance with local distinctiveness and the local character, and would amount to a discordant form of development in the area, and on that basis dismissed the appeal. The second appeal for the quarter is set out on page 14 of your agenda. This was a delegated refusal and again was dismissed. The application was for a prior notification for the change of use of an employment site to residential uses under Class O of the General Permitted Development Order. Again, the appeal was dismissed as the inspector was not satisfied that the building was in a lawful B1A office use, which is a requirement of Class A, and therefore would not fall in the criteria for prior approval. If I can just draw your attention to the appeals update sheet, there was an associated costs decision for that appeal. The appellant made an application for a partial awards of costs after the council cast doubt on the lawful use of the building following its decision to refuse the application. The inspector concluded that such action had resulted in the appellant incurring unnecessary expense in preparing for and attending a hearing which was subsequently adjourned to consider this additional matter, and a full award of costs was therefore made to the appellant. That's all there is to update, Chairman. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Members, any questions? No? Mr. Byam.
Just one obvious question. What sort of level of costs are we talking about? Is there any way, sort of any band are we talking about here? You know, we've had something ordered against us. How much is it going to hurt us?
Well, the costs can only be those costs which have been incurred over and above those which would ordinarily to be expected. We don't decide the costs, and nor does the inspector. They're sent away to be independently calculated. So I can presume it would be the costs incurred for the planning agent to prepare and attend for that meeting, based on whatever his hourly rate would be, I would presume. But we will be notified, I think, of that amount, and we can report that back to you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay then. The recommendation is that the committee notes the quarterly appeals report. Can we do that? Sorry, Mr. Band.
Thank you. Just could I ask, are there any lessons to be learnt from that which you might like to...
Thank you, Chairman. I think clearly it was regrettable that we had to raise matters subsequently in the process where perhaps we should clearly have raised them initially. But we came to the conclusion that there was a fundamental legal flaw in the appellant's case halfway through assessing it, and it would have been even more unacceptable to ignore that point and not go for it. So in a way, it was a limitation of damages. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes in getting to the nub of the case on appeal, you realise, well, actually, notwithstanding whatever else they're arguing, they're not off the starting blocks. We took legal advice, and the legal advice was, yes, we need to raise that now with them, because from the inspector's point of view, there's no point even progressing with the case when they don't even meet the fundamental requirement that the use was lawful in the first place. So it was worth us raising it, even though subsequently we had to concede we had raised it late in the process. Thank you, Chairman.
Are you happy with that, Mr. Band?
Thank you.
Okay. So then, going back to item 7 and the recommendation, are you happy to note the quarterly appeals report, members? Thank you very much. We move on to item 8 and the applications for planning permission. It tells me here that site inspections arising from this meeting will take place on the 7th of March. Should we need to go there? Anyway, moving on then to item B1, WA2 2015/2071, the erection of extensions and alterations including balcony and canopy to the front elevation as amended by plans received on the 16th of December and email received on the 17th of December at Hatch Cottage, Markwick Lane, Locks Hill. And may I introduce you to Jennifer there? I think it's her first time with Easton. Jennifer, please.
It is. Thank you, Chairman. The application site, outlined in red here, is located to the north of Markwick Lane and west of Godalming Road. The site comprises a dwelling with an attached garage. To the west of the dwelling and within the application site are some stable buildings, shown here, and a sand school here, which have previously been granted permission for equestrian use ancillary to the dwelling Hatch Cottage. The neighbouring semi-detached dwelling is located here, to the east of Hatch Cottage, and there are further residential dwellings to the east and west of the site. These are the existing elevations. The existing building is a 2-storey dwelling with a single-storey side and rear extension and an attached garage. The building has a rear-facing dormer window, which is shown up here, which serves a bedroom in the roof space. These are the existing floor plans. It shows the roof space bedroom here, 3 bedrooms on the first floor, and an existing side and rear extension here. These show the building as on site. You can see the rear elevation here, the existing dormer window, and then the single-storey rear and side extension. And this is the front with the bay window here. This is the proposed block plan. The application seeks permission for the alterations to the roof form to the rear to create a cat-slide roof, insertion of roof lights in the proposed cat-slide roof, alterations to the fenestration and the existing second-floor window, the construction of a dormer window on the first floor of the rear elevation, the erection of an extension to the existing single-storey side extension, and the formation of a crown-pitched roof and a balcony on the single-storey side extension. The block plan demonstrates the positioning of the proposed works in relation to the neighbouring dwelling, New Cottage. These are the front here, the rear here, and the side elevations. The proposed balcony can be seen here, and on the side it extends all across here. The cat slide roof extends down to the rear over the single-storey rear extension, and there's 3 new roof lights. The proposed new dormer window would be here, and the existing dormer window has a revised roof form to include a crown-pitched roof. The front elevation would include this canopy feature across here, and the window would be extended to provide full-length doors. There would be an infill of the porch here, and the crown-pitched roof is shown there. These are the proposed floor plans, which show the porch extension, the balcony on the side, and the dormer window on the first floor elevation, first floor rear elevation. So the matters of principal and technical opinion are the principle of development. The site is located within the green belt. It's outside any defined settlement area where there is a general presumption against inappropriate development, which is, by definition, harmful and should not be approved except in very special circumstances. However, the principle of a residential extension can be acceptable. The matters of judgment for which councillors are asked to consider this evening are the impact on the green belt. The NPPF states that certain types of development may be considered appropriate within the green belt. In this case, the NPPF provides an exception for the extension and alteration of a building, provided it does not result in disproportionate additions over and above the size of the original building. Policy RD2 of the local plan states that an extension greater than 40% of the original size of the dwelling would be considered disproportionate. Officers have calculated that the cumulative increase in floor space to the original dwelling from this application and previous extensions would total 24% and would therefore fall within the guidelines. Whilst percentage increase is one matter, the visual impact in terms of height, bulk and form of the extensions should also be considered. Officers consider that the proposal would be of an acceptable height, bulk and form, and as such conclude the proposal would not be disproportionate and would not amount to inappropriate development in the green belt. The second matter is the impact on visual amenity. Officers consider the proposed design of the extensions and alterations would not ordinarily be favourable. However, overall, the proposed alterations would be an improvement on the existing elevations and would therefore be considered acceptable. The impact on the Surrey Hills AOMB and AGLV. Given the scale of the proposal, there's been no concern raised by officers. And lastly, the impact on the residential amenity, where officers considered that due to the scale of the proposal and that there would be no new windows in closer proximity to the boundary with the neighbouring property than those that exist, there would be no harm to the neighbouring residential amenities. As such, the recommendation is that permission is granted as set out on pages 33 and 34 of the agenda. Thank you, Chairman.
Right, Jen. Members? Almost a dead heat. Mr. Seaborn, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I thank Jennifer for a very clear, clear report and very clear presentation there. This seems to be a very straightforward matter. The local residents don't appear to have raised any objections, and although it didn't appear on the site, the Waverley website, the parish council have actually discussed this and are very comfortable with it going ahead. So all I have to say is that I totally support the officer's recommendation and would be very happy to see this proceed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fahand.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation, but I've just really got a question. I deduce from the second paragraph, the top of page 29, that within the original area, you have included the space in the second floor, which has got a height greater than 1.5 metres. Now, I'd be interested to know on what basis you've done that, because it seems to me that it's unlikely that the original consent ever recognised a living space in the roof, the 1951 consent. So, just as a matter of interest, is how did you come to include that in the base calculation?
Chairman,
I'm sorry.
if I may, in cases where there has originally been a use of the loft space, you would calculate that as original floor space. So in this case, I think we're satisfied that the dormer was probably there at that point, and therefore it was probably used as habitable space. That's the view that we would take.
So, may I come back to it? And that's what I was questioning. I just find it hard to believe that that top dormer was there in the original application in 1951. That's where what I was challenging.
I think in the absence of any information to tell us otherwise, then we have to give the applicants the benefit of the doubt in these cases. And that's consistent with the way that we assess other ones.
All right. As I preface my remarks, I'm not objecting to the recommendation of officers, but I think it's an interesting calculation you've done this time, very much to the benefit of the applicant.
Thank you very much, Mr. Band. Anybody else? No? Let's go to page 33 on the agenda, and you have a recommendation that's subject to a number of conditions. Permission be granted. Are we agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. I don't think that we have anything else on the agenda, so I will thank you all for being with us. Wish you a safe journey home. Thank you.